For over 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had ruled the known galaxy through diplomacy, trade, and overwhelming military power. Hundreds of intelligent species had accepted its authority, believing that unity was the only path to lasting peace. Any civilization that challenged the Council's decisions eventually surrendered or disappeared from history. Then humanity arrived. In less than 2 centuries, humans transformed from a newly discovered species into one of the fastest-growing powers the galaxy had ever witnessed. Their fleets explored dangerous frontiers. Their engineers invented technologies no one thought possible. And their soldiers earned a reputation for accomplishing the impossible against overwhelming odds. To many Council members, humanity's rapid rise wasn't inspiring. It was terrifying. Inside the Grand Council chamber, representatives from over 300 star nations gathered beneath a massive holographic map of the galaxy. The atmosphere was tense as Chancellor Virax addressed the assembly. Humanity's military expansion has exceeded every treaty we have ever established. Their fleets grow larger each year, and no civilization should possess this much independent power. Murmurs spread across the chamber. The ambassador of the Zorathi Empire stood. If humans continue building warships at this pace, they will become stronger than the Council itself. Another delegate added,
"The Council expected outrage. They expected human ambassadors to storm out of negotiations, military fleets to mobilize, and fiery speeches threatening retaliation across every communication network in the galaxy. Instead, there was silence. For 3 long days, Earth sent no public response. News channels across hundreds of star systems speculated that humanity was preparing for war. Markets crashed, border worlds declared emergencies, and Council intelligence fleets gathered near human space, waiting for the first sign of resistance. But it never came. On the 4th day, Earth's ambassador, Admiral Elena Carter, stepped before the Galactic Council. She wore no military decorations, only a simple dark uniform marked with the silver emblem of the United Earth Federation. Her expression revealed nothing. "The United Earth Federation," she said calmly, "has reviewed the Council's resolution. Humanity will comply with the disarmament order." The chamber fell completely silent. Several delegates looked at one another in disbelief. "To ensure transparency," Carter continued, "Council inspectors are welcome to witness the decommissioning of our registered combat fleets." The announcement stunned the galaxy. Within weeks, Council observers watched enormous human shipyards dismantle cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and battleships. Plasma cannons were removed. Missile silos were sealed. Massive warships were cut apart and hauled away as scrap. Every inspection matched the Council's records perfectly. News broadcasts celebrated what many called the dawn of lasting peace. The Chancellor proudly declared that diplomacy had succeeded where fear had failed. Even humanity's oldest war.
The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Humanity has disarmed. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council declared that the balance of power had been restored. Across thousands of worlds, celebrations erupted as governments praised the Council's decision as a historic victory for peace. On the capital world of Asterion Prime, enormous holographic fireworks illuminated the night sky. Citizens filled the streets, cheering as broadcasts replayed images of human battleships being dismantled. "The age of human militarization is over," one news anchor proclaimed. "The galaxy can finally breathe again." Many believed the future had never looked brighter. Trade routes that had once required military escorts were reopened. Border defenses were scaled back, and several member worlds even reduced their own defense budgets, convinced that no major conflict could threaten them anymore. The Zorathi Empire was among the loudest voices celebrating. "Our greatest rival has laid down its weapons," Emperor Koresh declared before a crowd of thousands. "Today proves that no civilization stands above the authority of the Galactic Council." Thunderous applause echoed through the palace. Across the council chamber,
Chancellor Vorex accepted congratulations from ambassadors representing hundreds of species. "You have secured peace for generations," one delegate said. Vorex smiled proudly. "We didn't defeat humanity," he replied. "We simply reminded them that cooperation is stronger than force." But not everyone shared his confidence. Far beyond the celebrations, Director Kaylor continued monitoring human space. His analysts reported something strange. Although human warships had disappeared, civilian shipyards were operating around the clock. Massive construction platforms circled distant moons, and
while the Galactic Council celebrated its greatest diplomatic victory, humanity had already moved on to the next phase of a plan that had begun long before the disarmament order was ever announced. Far beyond the edge of mapped space, where no Council patrol had ever ventured, a fleet of unarmed transport vessels drifted through a dark, lifeless nebula. To any passing observer, they appeared to be ordinary cargo ships carrying mining equipment and industrial supplies. But appearances were deceiving. As the transports reached their destination, the empty darkness came alive. Thousands of hidden construction platforms emerged from cloaking fields. Gigantic automated shipyards, each larger than a moon, activated simultaneously. Swarms of drones poured from underground hangars carved into asteroids, assembling structures so massive that even seasoned engineers struggled to comprehend their scale. This wasn't a civilian project. It was Project Aegis, humanity's most closely guarded secret. Only a handful of leaders knew its true purpose. Deep inside the command complex, Chief Engineer Dr. Maya Chen stood before a holographic blueprint stretching across the room. The design showed a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever imagined. "They thought they ordered us to destroy our future," she said quietly. "In reality, they gave us the time to build it." Around her, hundreds of scientists and engineers worked in silence. Artificial intelligence coordinated millions of robotic builders with perfect precision. New alloys, developed in secret laboratories, were forged into hulls stronger and lighter than any known material. Every component was manufactured beyond the reach of the Council's inspectors. Every shipment was disguised as
3 months after humanity dismantled its registered war fleets, the galaxy had grown comfortable. Trade flourished. Border patrols were reduced. The Galactic Council proudly declared that a new era of peace had begun. But peace has a way of revealing true intentions. On the outer edge of human territory lay New Horizon, a prosperous colony home to nearly 2 million settlers. Rich in rare minerals and advanced research facilities, it had become one of humanity's most valuable frontier worlds. It also appeared completely defenseless. From the bridge of the Zorathi flagship Iron Dominion, Supreme Commander General Koresh studied the colony through the tactical display. "No warships," he said with a grin. "No orbital defense platforms. Humanity has truly obeyed." An officer nodded confidently. "Our scanners confirm it, sir. Only civilian transports and emergency rescue vessels remain." Koresh turned toward his fleet. "Then today we claim New Horizon. Once this colony falls, every human world on the frontier will follow." Within minutes, hundreds of alien warships emerged from hyperspace, surrounding the peaceful colony. Warning sirens echoed across the planet. Families rushed into emergency shelters as civilians watched enormous enemy cruisers fill the sky. Governor Sarah Mitchell activated the colony's emergency channel. "This is New Horizon to Earth Command. We are under attack. Multiple hostile fleets have entered orbit. We require immediate assistance." The transmission shot across the stars. On Earth, the message arrived inside the United Earth Defense Command. The room fell silent. Every officer looked toward Admiral Elena Carter. She listened to the report without showing a trace of panic. "So," she whispered, "they couldn't even wait a single year." An intelligence officer asked, "Should we appeal to the Galactic Council?" Carter slowly shook her head. The emergency signal from New Horizon echoed through every secure military network on Earth. Inside the United Earth Defense Command, giant holographic displays showed the colony surrounded by hundreds of Zorathi warships.
Explosions lit up the planet's orbital stations as civilians scrambled for shelter. No one spoke. Every eye was fixed on Admiral Elena Carter. She stood silently for a moment, then looked at the faces of the officers around her. "We honored the Council's treaty," she said calmly. "We dismantled every fleet they asked us to dismantle. We chose peace, and they answered with invasion." The room remained silent. They believed our restraint was weakness. She pressed a single authorization key. The words DEFCON Omega flashed across every military terminal. "Initiate Project Aegis. Activate all hidden task forces. Mission priority, protect New Horizon at all costs." "Yes, Admiral!" Encrypted signals burst from Earth, traveling through relay satellites hidden in deep space. Unlike normal transmissions, these messages could not be intercepted by the Galactic Council. Millions of light years away, inside the classified Aegis shipyards, alarms echoed through the enormous construction docks. Artificial intelligence awakened from standby. Fusion reactors roared to life. One after another, colossal starships powered up, their engines glowing like newborn stars. The fleet commander, Admiral James Walker, stepped onto the bridge of humanity's newest flagship, the UES Guardian. Its hull stretched for nearly 20 kilometers, armed with experimental weapons no alien civilization had ever seen. A young officer.
The stars above New Horizon trembled. At first, General Koresh thought it was a sensor malfunction. His tactical display flickered as powerful gravitational waves rolled through the system. "Report," he demanded. A communications officer stared at the screen, his face draining of color. "Sir, we're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures." "How many?" The officer hesitated. "Our computers can't calculate the total." A moment later, the darkness behind the Zorathi fleet split open. One hyperspace portal became 10. 10 became 100. Then hundreds more erupted across the void, stretching from one side of the star system to the other. Silence filled the bridge. From the glowing rifts emerged ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Towering dreadnoughts with sleek black hulls glided into formation. Their armor absorbed the starlight, making them appear like moving shadows. Massive carriers released swarms of autonomous fighter drones, while gigantic battle cruisers powered weapons capable of shattering moons. At the center of the formation appeared a ship so enormous that it eclipsed the nearby planet, the UES Guardian. The instant the Zorathi fleet opened fire, the silence of space was shattered. Hundreds of plasma lances, antimatter torpedoes, and ion missiles streaked toward the human armada, lighting up the darkness like a second sunrise. On the bridge of the UES Guardian, no one flinched. Admiral James Walker stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the tactical display as the enemy barrage disappeared against the Guardian's energy shield. "Shield integrity," he asked calmly. "100%, sir." A few officers exchanged quiet smiles. Walker nodded. "Our turn." His command echoed across every human ship. "All battle groups, engage." In perfect synchronization, thousands of hidden human warships sprang into action. Massive rail cannons thundered, launching tungsten projectiles at unimaginable speeds. Blue energy lances carved through the darkness, slicing enemy cruisers clean in half. Swarms of autonomous drones darted between the Zorathi formations, disabling weapons and engines with pinpoint precision. Within seconds, the balance of the battle had changed. General Koresh stared in disbelief as one of his dreadnoughts exploded. "How?" he shouted. "Their weapons shouldn't exist." An engineer answered with a trembling voice. "Our sensors can't even identify the technology, sir." On the battlefield, human ships moved with incredible coordination. Every maneuver seemed perfectly timed, as though the Battle of New Horizon was no longer a secret. Emergency transmissions spread across the galaxy within minutes. Every military command, news network, and government received the same unbelievable footage. A fleet that wasn't supposed to exist was crushing one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Inside the Grand Council chamber, panic replaced celebration.
The massive holographic display showed hundreds of human warships emerging from hyperspace, effortlessly overpowering the Zorathi invasion force. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then Chancellor Varix broke the silence. Where did those ships come from? No one had an answer. Council Intelligence Director Kalor stepped forward, his expression grim. "I warned this council months ago," he said. "Humanity never stopped preparing. They simply moved their preparations where we couldn't see them." The chamber erupted. "Impossible! They violated the Disarmament Treaty! They deceived the entire galaxy!" Kalor shook his head. "No." The room fell silent again. "They dismantled every fleet we ordered them to dismantle. Every registered warship was destroyed exactly as our inspectors confirmed." He pointed toward the tactical display. "But we never asked whether they were building something new, somewhere else." The realization hit the delegates like a meteor strike. Humanity hadn't broken the treaty. They had followed it, word for word. And while the council congratulated itself, human engineers had quietly built an entirely new fleet beyond known space. Chancellor Varix sank into his chair. "We handed them the time they needed." Across the chamber, the Lyrian ambassador. As panic spread through the Galactic Council, one question echoed across every command center in the galaxy. How had humanity advanced so far, so quickly? The answer had been buried for over a century, deep beneath the frozen surface of Europa, one of Jupiter's icy moons. A classified research facility known only as Site Omega had remained hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Only the highest-ranking leaders of Earth knew what lay beneath its frozen crust. Long before humanity joined the Galactic Council, a deep space exploration team had discovered an ancient object drifting between the stars. A colossal alien vessel, unlike anything ever recorded. It was billions of years old. Its creators had vanished long before the first modern civilization was born. Yet one thing inside the wreck still functioned: an artificial intelligence. Human scientists named it Prometheus. Unlike a weapon, Prometheus was a vast archive of forgotten knowledge. It contained the engineering secrets of a civilization so advanced.
The stunning defeat at New Horizon sent shockwaves through the Zorathi Empire. Across their capital world, emergency alarms echoed through government towers as military commanders rushed into the Imperial War Chamber. The once confident faces of the Empire's leaders were now filled with fear. General Koresh stood before Emperor Koreshon, his uniform scorched from the battle. "We underestimated humanity," he admitted. "Their fleet is unlike anything we've encountered." The Emperor slammed his fist onto the throne. "Then stop underestimating them." He turned to the High Command. "I want every available warship, every reserve fleet, every planetary defense force. If humanity wishes to challenge the Empire, we will crush them with overwhelming numbers." Within hours, the largest military mobilization in Zorathi history began. Across dozens of star systems, shipyards worked without rest. Thousands of battleships, carriers, and heavy cruisers assembled into a single armada. Its destination was clear: Earth. Back aboard the UES Guardian, Athena's tactical display lit up with thousands of red markers. Admiral Walker, the AI reported, "Enemy forces have united into one fleet. Estimated strength, 12,000 warships." An officer looked concerned. "That's the largest invasion force ever assembled." Walker remained calm. "They're making the same mistake again. They believe victory belongs to the biggest fleet." A secure transmission from Admiral Elena Corder appeared on the bridge. "The Council has requested an emergency ceasefire," she said. Walker glanced at the tactical map. "Will the Zorathi obey it?" Corder shook her head. The Orion Gate became a sea of stars and fire. On one side stood the Zorathi Grand Armada, more than 12,000 warships stretching across millions of kilometers. On the other stood humanity's hidden fleet, silent and perfectly organized, waiting behind the immense silhouette of the UES Guardian. For a brief moment, neither side moved. Then Emperor Koreshon's voice echoed across every communication channel.
Humans, you have deceived the Galactic Council, violated the balance of power, and threatened every civilization in the galaxy. Surrender now, and your people may yet survive. Aboard the UES Guardian, Admiral James Walker listened without expression. When the message ended, he activated his own broadcast. Humanity never sought conquest. We explored, we traded, we answered distress calls when others refused. You demanded that we lay down our shields, and the moment we did, your empire attacked innocent civilians. He paused. You are not here because we built powerful ships. You are here because you believed peace meant weakness. Walker looked toward the tactical display. This ends today. He lowered his hand. All fleets, advance. The void erupted. Thousands of humans.
The battlefield at Orion Gate fell eerily silent. The shattered remains of the Zorathi Grand Armada drifted through space, while hundreds of disabled warships waited for rescue. Human vessels formed a protective perimeter, recovering escape pods from both sides of the conflict. Then the stars began to disappear, not because they had gone out, but because something unimaginably large was blocking their light. Across every sensor array, alarms erupted. Unknown fleet entering the system. They're not broadcasting identification codes. Estimated vessel length, over 50 kilometers. Even Athena paused for a fraction of a second before speaking. Warning, technology level exceeds all known Galactic Council civilizations. A massive black flagship emerged from hyperspace, followed by hundreds of colossal warships. Their hulls bore no insignias, no running lights, and no recognizable weapons. A single transmission reached every ship in the system. Its voice was calm, ancient, and utterly emotionless. This region has violated the accord of the first civilization. Military activity has exceeded acceptable limits. Judgment will now begin. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, panic erupted.
The arrival of the Custodians changed everything. Across the Orion Gate battlefield, every weapon fell silent. Human ships, Zorathi vessels, and Galactic Council fleets remained motionless, waiting for the mysterious newcomers to make their next move. The enormous Custodian flagship slowly advanced toward the UES Guardian. Instead of charging its weapons, it transmitted a secure invitation. Admiral James Walker, permission is granted to board. Walker looked at his officers. I'll go. Within minutes, a small diplomatic shuttle crossed the empty battlefield. As it entered the Custodian flagship, the crew was stunned. The interior was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The walls shimmered with living metal, glowing softly with streams of blue light. There were no visible control panels, no crew members rushing about, only silent corridors that seemed to respond to Walker's every step. At the heart of the ship stood a single figure. Tall, silver-skinned, and calm, the being introduced itself. I am High Custodian Elion, Guardian of the First Accord. Walker nodded respectfully. You've been watching us. For a very long time, Elion replied. We observed thousands of civilizations rise and fall. Most sought power. Most destroyed themselves. He looked directly at Walker. But humanity was different. You possessed knowledge capable of conquering the galaxy. Yet you chose to protect your colonies, rescue civilians, and even spare your enemies. Walker remained silent. Elion continued. When the Zorathi attacked New Horizon, you could have destroyed their empire. Instead, you saved their escape pods. That choice revealed your true strength. Back in the Galactic Council chamber,
The galaxy had entered a new era. The Galactic Council was gone. The Zorathi Empire had surrendered its claim to conquest. The Custodians had ended millions of years of silence. For the first time in recorded history, every major civilization gathered, not for war, but for peace. The meeting took place aboard the ancient Custodian flagship orbiting a quiet blue star. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat together, waiting for one final answer. Why had the Custodians chosen humanity? High Custodian Elyon stepped forward. Millions of years ago, our civilization reached a level of power beyond imagination. We believed we could enforce peace through absolute control. He paused, looking across the chamber. We were wrong. We became so powerful that other civilizations obeyed us out of fear, not respect. Eventually, fear gave birth to rebellion, and our great alliance collapsed. The chamber was silent. Elyon continued. Before our civilization faded, we created the Archive and Prometheus. Their purpose was simple. Wait until a species proved that strength could exist without tyranny. Admiral James Walker looked at the ancient AI hologram beside him. So humanity passed your test? Prometheus answered. Not because you built the strongest fleet, not because you mastered advanced technology, but because when given overwhelming power, you chose restraint. Images from the recent war appeared throughout the chamber. Human ships rescuing Zorathi survivors, medical teams treating wounded enemies, colonies rebuilt instead of occupied, children returned safely to their families. Even after victory, humanity had never sought revenge. Elyon smiled for the first time. A civilization is not judged by how